What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Piley Studios. Who is as excited as I am about the Diglett Pokemon dioramas that me and my daughter are going to begin building? Now, I've already posted technically a part 1 in this series where I'm asking the question, is the Diglett Pokemon a worm or is it a mole? Now, you can go back and reference that video. I will link it below. And as I finish out this series, I'll go back to all of the previous videos and I will post all of the links for all of the segments of these videos in the description. We're going to actually build 3 dioramas. In the description that I had described in the first video where I'm talking about how design ideas, how I like to create it, skin texture and things like that, I described a few different ways, and we're actually going to run through quite a few of these. The very first one we're going to do is, what if Diglett was a worm? Not just a worm or the cartoon version, but an actual realistic worm. So we're going to actually sculpt Diglett as a physical earthworm. It's going to look wonky. It's going to look a little squelchy, but we're going to see how it turns out. So the very first video of this is going to be the actual, is Diglett a worm or a mole? Video number 2 is where we're going to actually create Diglett as a worm. Video number 3 is going to be where we're going to be painting and epoxying that actual earthworm Diglett. And video number 4 is where we're going to be creating an actual cartoon version of Diglett. And that's the one that most people are actually familiar with. During some of these other processes of designing these other out-of-the-box type of Digletts, more realistic, weird versions that I have in my head, my daughter continuously comes back at me and says, that doesn't look like a Pokemon Diglett, Dad. So she hassled me for quite a while. So we're going to actually create a cartoon version as well. And that will also allow me to engage her in the creation, the clay, and having fun with the painting. So that will be video number 4. Video number 5 is where we'll be detail painting that. Video number 6 in this is going to be a little bit of a turn. If you think of Diglett as a mole with maybe just below the grade of the dirt, little hands or little claws, because he does have the scratch effect, which I mentioned in video number 1. I'm going to create him in just a wonky, creepy, weird mole version where he's going to have some claws that come out from underneath the folds of his wrinkly, kind of like a naked mole rat type of skin. He's going to have like little beady eyes and little ports for his ears. So he's just going to be really creepy, a little weird. I'm going to make him look really like kind of paled out compared to his usually brown. I want to make each color tone a little bit different. Maybe the earthworm will be slightly maybe darker. The cartoon version will be more of a little bit more of a red tinge, perhaps earth color, maybe a red dirt color. And then I want the earth, the mole version to be more of a paled out, like a raw sienna type of look. So we'll see how it goes. Each one of these will include its own actual mole hole base that it sits into. I'm going to sculpt each one of them individually in different ways, and I want to sculpt them so they look differently as well. That will be the final video in the series, and then I'll do like a little showcase of all of the 3 in a line or something just fun for them to be all kind of collected together. So this is going to be quite a long series in the actual Diglett Pokemon release. Of course, I could just do the cartoon version, but we're actually going to just create just an entire little series out of it. And then once I get these knocked out and I have these videos sitting there waiting to be uploaded over time, maybe weekly perhaps, then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and start the next Pokemon, which will take a poll on TikTok. So if you don't follow me on TikTok, make sure you do so. Make sure you hit the subscribe button here. Let's go ahead and roll into video number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, whichever you're watching, because I may use this little clip over and over again because it gives such a good description of the overall series. But otherwise, if you skip this, that's okay too. Let's get into the content. Alright, so let's get straight into the content here. Now, this is video number 4 in this awesome series here of Diglett, the Pokemon, mole Pokemon that is. Now, this is going to be the cartoon version of Diglett, so it's going to be, you know, more of a cartoonish type compared to the earthworm which we saw before. And then the one shortly after this one will be the mole version, or at least my take of the mole. We're going to begin this process by completely covering this 12-ounce, almost kids tumbler, kind of straight-sided one. I had used this tumbler in a previous project that did not work out, so I scraped all of that cured clay off, and we're starting with a blank slate. I'm going to begin this process just by completely covering this thing in Sculpey Original. You don't have to be clean, you don't have to be nice about it, just get it completely covered. And you can do this a few different ways. I could have left the base kind of stainless steel and then just kind of like added clay to the top, but I decided to cover the entire thing in clay this time. So the entire thing is covered. Went ahead and rolled that out, and I'm just kind of just generally using the tumbler shape itself because it's not curved, just to kind of smooth out that clay in certain areas. And then I'll just kind of smooth it out until I just get the overall texture that I kind of want. I don't want it to look like it was pressed out of a machine, but I also don't want it to look like I have all my fingernail prints already in it. So you got to find that happy medium between a little bit of texture, but just not too ripply. So once I kind of get that smoothed out, kind of like, by hand how I want it, it has a little bit of texture there, as you can see in the light, but not too much. Then I'm going to go ahead and score the bottom rim, and I'm going to hit it also with a coarse brush of rubbing alcohol, just to kind of get any smooth, major ripples out. It kind of smooths it out, gives it just a natural texture with the coarse brush that I'm using here, and it kind of just smooths out any like small imperfections. And if there are larger divots and stuff, I'm okay with that. I just want to get them just generally kind of rubbed smooth in a way, and the rubbing alcohol just really achieves that kind of smooth overall texture, even if there are some dimples here and there. And you can kind of see that the rubbing alcohol did do quite a good job. I'm going to score that bottom rim again, and this time we're actually going to scrape that off. So I want to make sure that the top portion of the cup is a very clean edge. And obviously I'm going to make a topper for this tumbler because it does have a lid, but at the same time I just want to create a nice seam. Even if there's a line between the main body and the actual cup topper or the top of the head, I just want to at least try to attempt to make that a smooth transition, at least a little bit, even if there's a line visible. And then we're going to add the nose. So his mouth. His nose could be.
He don't know.
His nose.
He don't have that nose up.
Baby, we're gonna put the eyes up here. We haven't. Okay, so we'll put it right here, because his eyes are gonna be right here. Okay.
Okay. But I can do it.
All right. Gently push in. No. Way too hard. Way too hard. You're pushing way too hard. Way too hard, okay? Let me roll out again. All right, now. Here, look. All right, hold on. We're gonna gently push, just push in. Push in. That's it. Now move your fingers.
It looks like its eyes have eyes.
It's supposed to be his nose. Okay, that's good. And I'm gonna smooth that out. I hope y'all enjoyed that little small dialogue between me and my daughter. I wanted to kind of engage her and let her create some of the Diglett here, especially since this is the cartoon version, and it's actually the one that she's been hassling me to make. Even during some of the other versions that I'm making at the same time, she kept continuously coming back to me and says, "That does not look like a Pokemon Diglett, Dad. It doesn't look like Diglett." So, of course, the cartoon version is for her. As you can see here, I have the acrylic top. I've already went ahead and UV resin some magnets into place. You really don't need the magnets. This piece is more so a trophy than an actual drinking tumbler, but even so, I'm still going to make it functional in some ways, as far as the straw port on the top and making it form fit to the lid and things like that. If I were to make this 100% a true drinking tumbler for, say, a customer or something like that, or if I were to make it for somebody other than just us in the family, then I would have to put a lot more time and detail into the topper so that it fits just absolutely perfectly. But I just went ahead and wrapped it a few times with some aluminum foil, went ahead and cut out the port for the straw there, and then we're just going to begin kind of layering in clay. Now, unlike the one previously when we laid out some rolls of clay on it, we were blending rolls into rolls. This one is just building up a general base, and then we're going to slowly smooth these out until we get more of a dome shape, that signature round Diglett head. So same kind of process, but it's just slightly different. I am going to also use a little bit of aluminum foil blocking here. So what I'll do is I'll add just a general layer of clay, and then I'll go ahead and bunch up some aluminum foil before I add the last layer of clay to the very top. So to get this generally smooth, I did roll it across my tabletop quite a few times just to kind of get it generally the same shape as the main base below it. I probably could have put a little bit more time into that process, but I'm kind of happy with how it turned out, and that's because of later processes in the build. So there I am, just kind of boring out the straw port for the straw that leads down to the actual acrylic topper there, or lid there. And then there you can kind of see it's just a nice clean surface to work off of, a nice good dome shape. Then we're going to hit it with a nice layer of rubbing alcohol there, just to kind of the same process as before, just to smooth out any slight imperfections, and if there are any raised spots or fingerprints, well, not fingerprints because I'm wearing gloves, but any markings from my gloves, then I can smooth those out just a little bit. All right, so here it is after it is baked. Obviously, I don't have that acrylic topper on there right now. It is also a tight fit. A lot of my trophy pieces have a lot tighter fits than if I were to sell this as a drinkable tumbler. And of course, I do always do a little bit of cleanup work on those as well. When I do it as a trophy piece, I really don't intend for people to remove that cup topper. But if they were to, they would remove it with the lid, and they would probably just never remove the acrylic part of the cup lid from the topper itself, and they can like keep something in the Diglett, you know, like little trinkets or Pokemon cards or money if they wanted to. Trophies, I can kind of create it different ways, trophies or drinkable tumblers. So of course it has the magnets and all fits in there nice and neat and tidy, and then you can kind of move the actual lid back and forth to get the perfect lineup with the nose. Now you can see that there is quite a gap between the top portion and the actual body below. Both of those have been baked before, so I decided to go ahead and add a little bit more clay to the bottom just to kind of smooth out that transition. And it just kind of blocks it out a little bit and just adds a little bit more meat and material there. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of just scuff up and scrape off a little bit of clay where I believe that the eyes should be. It gives some of my clay eyes something to grab onto. I actually dropped it quite a few times because I wasn't pressing hard enough to get it to kind of squeeze into that scraped off clay there. And then once this portion is done as far as adding the eyes, then I'll do a second bake. There I am adding the eyes there. You know, I'm kind of making them pretty long, elongated. I want them to feel very cartoony. I want them to have, you know, just completely a black surface, and then we'll put just a simple white glare on there, just to signify that they're eyes. But when you look at them from the side view, then they're kind of sticking up and away from the body, and I think that just gives it a cool cartoonish look, and it kind of makes them stand out a little bit when you look at it from the front of the body. I'm kind of happy with how they turned out overall. You can do those quite a few different ways as far as insetting them into the face or the head, and or making them more flush, but I decided to go ahead and project them out quite a bit. I think they're looking pretty good overall, and I'm very happy with how they turned out so far. So as you can see here, the Diglett is really starting to take shape now. So I did decide to go ahead and make it an Alalon version, and I wanted to add that little like greenish twig, or well, in a lot of the Pokédex is referred to as a blonde leaf twig of some sort, and it kind of just sprouts from the top of the Diglett's head there. Maybe to whether it makes it camouflage better in the ground, or for whatever reason, or it's just, you know, that's how they made it for that region. But I wanted to go ahead and incorporate that as well, just so I can kind of cover all my bases, and it gives just an extra little thing for the build to have, except for just a smooth body with eyes and nose. So I just used two different types of gauges of armature wire there. I'm just wrapping them around each other, and what I plan to do is I plan to use clay to kind of brace them in, and then I'll use a UV resin to give it some green, clear, fun effects in the second video. So I do probably plan to give that more of a woody texture, and then it kind of gets greener and more lively towards leaf colors at the very tops and tips and over the UV resin portions. I did also make that quite a bit taller than probably what it would have been. I wanted that kind of to stand out quite a bit, and I wanted it to just feel very cartoonish in comparison to if I had really dropped it down and thinned it out quite a lot. I just feel like this feels more cartoonish, and I just like the overall texture that I'm going to be able to paint that in, and then it gives me more UV resin at the top. So just a cool feature. So there's the overall body there, kind of blocked in. It's a little rough around the top there, but I can always come back and clean that up a little bit. I'm not really worried too much about that. What do you think, guys? I think it's looking pretty good so far. So right now I'm just kind of looking over it for any kind of slight imperfections. We're going to make sure that the topper actually fits good, and then of course all of that is baked out and ready to go. Making sure it's smooth around the rim there where it's going to make contact with the acrylic topper, and then we'll kind of go ahead and put it all together. So as you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and apply the top here in all of its glory, all in one piece. And you can kind of see when I apply this, if you'll note, I'm able to rotate the cup topper back and forth because it's a completely straight seam instead of more of a jagged or off-kilter kind of seam. It doesn't have to fit like a puzzle piece in one particular way. You just need to line up the eyes and you're kind of good to go. But overall, you do see the seam, but I'm not really too upset by that. That's naturally going to have to happen when I do like a tumbler piece like this, when I use the stainless steel tumbler as the actual base instead of like an aluminum foil base. But you could use an aluminum foil if you wanted to in this process. I like it. I think it's pretty good overall. Please enjoy the glamour shots, and I'll catch you back at the end. Everybody, so I really hope that y'all enjoyed this series where we're on video number 4 of the Pokemon Diglett series, where we are sculpting and painting all of these amazing little Diglett versions. This one, of course, was the cartoon version, and although we did add the nose, the overall smooth texture of the skin, the round top, the eyes that kind of just protrude out from the body there, and I also extended the stem of the little three-tiered leaf there on top a little bit further out than it was supposed to be, and that just also increases the kind of cartoonish of the diorama here. So I hope y'all enjoyed video number 4. In video number 5, we will be painting this in an awesome red to brown tone, so stay tuned for that.